Good morning. Welcome, everybody. This is Kaplan's Real Expert webinar. I'm Jamie Cash. I will be hosting today in place of Toby Shifsky. And we have our real expert, Diane Shapiro, with us here joining us today. So if you are joining us from somewhere, if you could put in the chat where you're from, we'd love to know where our audience is at. I am based in Colorado, just outside of Denver. And it's a beautiful day here, sunny. It's supposed to be 78. So hopefully you guys have some nice weather where you're at as well. We've got people from all over the place. It looks like Minnesota, Texas, Alabama, Virginia.
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful.
Welcome.
Wonderful. And Diane, do you want to share where you're from?
Sure. I'm from the central west coast of Florida, the Tampa Bay area. That's where I'm coming from. So yeah, Jamie and I are kind of at opposite ends.
Yeah, different time zones. So I
Yay,
apologize if
Alexandra, there you go. Welcome, welcome.
I
Michigan.
apologize if you guys were in here before and I started it a little bit early. Just kind of a test run, making sure you're all paying attention. So thanks for coming back on. We are going to go ahead and get started. Like I said, my name is Jamie Cash. I'm the host here. Today, I'm subbing in for Toby Shifsky, who couldn't be with us today. He's normally the host for this. So I will be your host today, and Diane is going to be our real expert. Diane is a licensed real estate broker and an instructor. She's been in the industry for about 34 years. Her focus is residential, but she started her real estate career in New York, listing, selling, leasing, managing properties. She's also managed 2 highly successful real estate offices. And after moving to Florida, Diane opened and ran her own brokerage. During her career, she has continued to share her knowledge, passion, and experiences in the real estate industry as a instructor here at Kaplan. And we are very grateful that Diane could take some time away from instructing and join us as our real expert today. So thank you, Diane. It's so nice to have
Thank you,
you.
Jamie. Thank you,
Yes.
Jamie. I appreciate that introduction. And welcome to everybody. We are seeing people from just all over. That's so fantastic. New York City. Yes, Michelle. There we go. In Denver. It's great to see all of you this morning.
Yes.
Fantastic.
All over.
There you go. We are just all over the map for sure.
Well, this is perfect.
Thanks, Jamie.
One of our first questions is, when you're starting a real estate career, how is it similar to going to a foreign country and learning a new language?
Well, for those of you who are considering a career in real estate, it absolutely positively is like visiting a foreign country and learning a brand new language. We have our own jargon in real estate, and it's something that eventually you become very used to. But I think it's a little bit of a challenge in the very beginning, just to kind of associate all of the terminology with what it is that we're talking about. We talk in code. Actually, more accurately described, it's acronyms that we use. Yes. And things like CMA and BPO, and you say that to another realtor and they absolutely know what you're talking about. But when you're new, it's like, and it's that kind of, is it that you're talking about? And again, it's kind of real estate shorthand. And it's just some of the hurdles that you kind of have to overcome initially when you first get into real estate. You'll learn that if you go through your pre-licensing course. You kind of, depending on the kind of student you are, students like to make notes for themselves, just to kind of, create that little cheat sheet so that you can go back and study from it.
Yes, it's definitely has its own jargon. Every industry does, but real estate definitely has its own little verbiage that you probably won't use anywhere other than within the real estate industry. I'm going to launch a poll really quickly. My first poll is just about an idea, so we can have an idea as to who is here with us today. Let's see. Let me just launch this. The question is, and you can answer it in the poll, is how long have you been in the real estate industry? So are you taking courses with Kaplan? Have you been in here 1 to 5 years, 5 to 10, 10 or more? And or if you're not even in the field yet, but you're considering it, that's an option too. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds to go ahead and answer that poll, and then we will show the results here in a minute.
Fantastic.
Yes,
Just
you guys are
started today,
awesome.
15 years. Yeah. We have a
Yeah.
wide range of experience.
Yes.
Fantastic.
All right, I think that looks good. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll here. So it looks like we have a high percentage of students that are taking their pre-licensing courses with us today, which is amazing. And then we have newbies within the first 5 years, as well as people just considering. So wonderful. We've kind of got a broad spectrum there today, but we will try to answer the questions based on who our audience is. So I just wanted to kind of get a feel for who was joining us today. So thanks for voting in the poll. I appreciate that. So as Diane said, it is like learning a foreign language. We love our new students coming into the classes and just picking up this new language. That's, I think, the biggest drinking from a fire hose when you first start is just picking up that language, like it would be for any industry and any course you might be taking. So Diane, I just wanted to see if you could maybe give some of our audience members just some ideas as to what actions or activities that they could do, whether they're just starting out or they've been in the industry for years. What are some things that really work well?
Well, I think if you're new to the business, so I think if you have been licensed for a period of time, I think the key to being successful is organization and finding a system that works best for you. Remembering that for the most part, real estate agents are independent contractors, which means that your broker doesn't dictate to you the hours that you spend in working or in the office. And so you kind of have to be your own boss in that term, choosing the times that you work, setting aside specific times to do specific things. So being organized with your time, because we can fritter it away pretty quickly without really getting a whole lot done. And that's not going to be very productive. And once you kind of get a system going where you have your time organized, consistency is the next key, really. And that is the repetition of doing what you need to do on a consistent basis in order to affect results. We do have a term in real estate that we call farming. And farming is something that we often encourage new licensees to engage in. And as the term would imply, farming means doing a specific action. It might be knocking on doors. It might be sending out postcards. Whatever method you use to farm an area, a geographic area, you're getting the word out, who you are, what you do. You're ready to help people either buy or sell. And when you're going to do that consistently, when you're going to farm consistently, and this kind of goes back to organization, having a plan in effect for an entire year, and I know that sounds a little long, but if you sit down and you create a plan for the entire year, even if it's a touch-base kind of postcard, or there is an occasion, or it's a holiday, or whatever, what you're doing is getting your name and your face in front of the public and letting them know you are ready, willing, and able to help them with their real estate needs. So I think those two things, organization, consistency, and finally, networking. Networking is really a big key. Again, for those of you not just considering real estate or just beginning in real estate, but even after you're up and running, we sometimes kind of forget about that aspect of it and getting the word out, reaching out, whether it's to people that we show up at the gym with that, we kind of become training buddies with, whether it's family members, kind of a reminder that, hey, you know what, I'm in real estate. I love it. And boy, if you know of anybody that I can help, just give them my card, I'll be happy to chat with them. So I think those are kind of the three foundational items that you kind of have to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think that's 100% accurate. Especially being organized. Once you get busier, the more
Yes,
organized you are, the better you're going to be able to manage all those other tasks that come with it. Um,
absolutely.
one
Absolutely.
one question that came up was, do you recommend time blocking? Is that something that you recommend doing?
You can, yes. I think that makes a lot of sense because it definitely puts some parameters around the activity. And I
Mhm.
think that if that's kind of what will work for you, we are, after all individuals, and
Right.
some of us work a little differently, but time blocking absolutely would work. And also choosing the time of day that you are at your best. I personally tend to be more of a morning person. I like to get things done first thing in the morning. Do not talk to me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just, and I mean that jokingly, but I'm at my best in the morning. I feel more productive. And so I would kind of front load my day in doing those activities that I know I need to do in order to be productive. Okay.
Yes, I
I
love
love
it. I think that's
organization and
great.
have a certificate. Fantastic. I can see the chat box as it's scrolling by, so feel free to,
Good.
to add your color commentary.
Yes, yes. Another question we had was, can you immediately open up your own business, or do you need to have an internship under a current realtor?
Let me answer that according to kind of, again, I'm in the state of Florida and every state has their own laws. And so based on that, when you were newly licensed in the state of Florida, your initial license is a sales associate license. And when you get your sales associate license, you have a period of time that you have to take your classes. You have to pass a state exam. You then have what's called post-licensing education, which is additional education. And you must complete post-licensing, and you must have at least 2 years in the business before you can take the course and exam to become a broker. And then yes, from there you can open your own office. It's broker, post-broker licensing, and then opening up. Then you are legally capable of opening up your own office. So again, check with your state. Each state, again, has different rules and regulations concerning that.
Yes,
So,
definitely.
yeah.
Every state is very different. I'm in Colorado, and I know for a fact, Colorado, you have to have um, everybody here is a broker initially. So you get a broker's license, and then you can get your managing broker's license. So if you're a broker, you have to be a broker for at least a year or 2 years, I'm sorry, and then meet certain qualifications before you can actually go in and take the course to then become a managing broker. So
Mhm. Yeah.
like you said, every state's different, but just check
Right.
with your state. And but
Correct.
usually you do have to have some sort of experience under someone, from what I've noticed through other
Yes.
states,
Correct.
before you just jump out on
Correct.
your
Yeah.
own.
And here in Florida, it would be working as a sales associate which has to be under a broker, under managing broker. So you're never going to be working on your own, so to speak, because the broker ultimately is responsible for the sales associate. So yes, that is true. And in some states, they have the requirement. Florida is not one of them, but in some states, you actually have to have a history of producing business. They
Mhm.
want to
Yep.
see that you have concluded business as well,
Right.
transactions under your belt, so to speak. So again,
Right.
it's really kind of one of those topics that you have to kind of dig into on your own state level and find out exactly what you need to be, what are the requirements for you to actually open your own shop, so to speak.
Yes, exactly. Um, so speaking of plans and being consistent, what how do you develop a growth plan for continuing education? Is there one that you have?
I think one of the very first things for those of you who are either considering being licensed or are newly licensed is to kind of pick a lane. And I say that affectionately because in real estate, there are many different aspects of it that you can decide to specialize in. For the most part, I think across the country, the most popular is residential real estate. Most agents go into real estate and kind of wind up in residential. But there is commercial real estate and there's uh, property management, and there are all different kind of really specializations that you could go into. Once you decide on that, then each one of those lanes has further education. And so I think certainly from a residential standpoint, you could become a certified buyer broker. You could focus on international sales having to do with residential property. There are any number of designations that will allow you to build your skills. And the National Association of Realtors offers many credentialed courses and designations that allow you to further your education in the lane of real estate that you choose to practice in. And I think that's a great idea to grow your business over time and just to be more educated. Again, in today's world, when we know so much information is available online, and many of our buyers tend to shop online first and come to you with pretty good amount of knowledge about what they're interested in. Well, why are they coming to you? It's for what you can give them beyond the pictures and the description on the internet. So it's having that expertise that's really going to set you head and shoulders above. Okay.
Yes, I love it. Another few questions we were getting is, as a new realtor, how should they approach selecting a brokerage firm to work under? And is it best to start working with an agency when pre-licensed?
So when you're first starting out, there are a couple of aspects that you want to give some consideration to. Earlier, Jamie and I were kind of chuckling at the fact that once you apply for your license, suddenly you'll be inundated by all of these invitations to come join offices. And so as flattering as that is, take a step back and just kind of give yourself an opportunity. First of all, you kind of have to decide on the kind of person you are. Do you feel comfortable like jumping into a large company where maybe there's 100 agents? Are you looking for maybe a medium-sized, maybe a regional company where management is a little bit more approachable, the size of the office is a little bit smaller, there's a little bit more intimacy? Are you interested in maybe something like a mom and pop organization? So first off, you kind of have to decide on that. Once you decide on the size that you think you'll be comfortable in, you want to interview with them. You can call and you can explain that you are in the process of getting your license, or you're thinking of getting your license and you would like to make an appointment and come in and speak to the managing broker. And you need to get a feel for how the office works. Is there somewhat of a team spirit? Is there going to be help available for you to kind of help get you off the ground? Training, do they offer training? What kind of training? Is it training you have to pay for? So sit down and kind of create a little list of questions that you would like to have answered, and use that same set of questions for each one that you speak to. As much as the brokerage is interviewing you as a potential candidate, you should be in also looking at the broker and interviewing the broker to see if you feel comfortable. Is that person going to be there to help you out when you need it? Are they someone who has a presence in the office?
Yes, 100%. That's one thing that we always say is, remember, it's a little different because you're coming in as an employee, or not as an employee, as an independent contractor. So you actually are interviewing them to see if they are a fit for you. And that's probably the first time in your career that you're doing that. It's kind of a flip of what you've always done if you've worked in the corporate world, or
Sure.
something like that. And a lot of times people are coming into real estate as their second, maybe even third career. So you just kind of have to have a different mind shift and say, what do I need? What kind of support do I need? Am I I definitely need an accountability coach. I need someone that's going to keep me on my toes, or I don't really need as much coaching. I need someone more hands off. And you can kind of pick your management style based on your needs instead of how that particular brokerage just runs things. And you don't have to take the first offer you get, basically.
Absolutely.
And going into that a little bit further, how do you think, what's a good strategy for building a growth plan for business when you're first starting out?
Well, building a growth plan, I think one of the very first things you really do need to sit down and kind of look at is and this is going to sound a little bit kind of maybe backwards. But if this is going to be your primary source of income, is to work backwards from the numbers. How much do you plan on? What are you comfortable with as your income for the year? And work backwards from that in order to develop a work plan that you can implement on a daily basis. You can ascertain what kind of the average price of homes in your area or properties in your area are selling for. You can do a little bit of arithmetic and kind of figure out what it is that you're going to have to do. Whether it's making phone calls, whether it's doing mailings, whatever lead generation you're choosing, whether you're going to be using a social media platform, whether you expect to get business from your company, whether they are advertised heavily and therefore they have incoming business that then is given out onto the floor. You just kind of need to determine what it is you want to do long-term and work backwards into a game plan, which actually factors back into your consistency and your organization, so that every day you're working toward that goal. Every day you're working toward achieving what you need to achieve on a weekly, monthly basis that ultimately will wind up at the end of the year being exactly where you are. Planning is a big part of it. And that's financial planning as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's a big piece of it that you really need to tackle at the beginning, like you said. I think that's huge.
Yeah.
At Kaplan, we do have a course, Real Estate Accelerator. It's a program that you guys can take as well. And some of you might have enrolled in it when you enrolled initially with your pre-licensing course. But it's definitely a program that is underutilized. It is such a great way to get your feet off the ground. It helps you guys get your contacts in order in a CRM so that everything's organized. It helps you guys build a business plan. It gives you kind of like steps to start your business off while you're still in school. You can start this program. You can start it once you finish your program, but it's definitely something I would highly recommend taking full advantage of if you have the program, or you can purchase the program separately. But it's a great way to kind of take what you learned in class and then apply it. Because even Diane and I were chatting before, and it's like, you learn a ton in class, but it's not really about how to do the business. It's more about the business. So this course is great about kind of putting what you learned in class into a practical application. That's
kind of the meat and potatoes, as we call it.
Yeah.
It's really how business is done, because what you learn in school is all the legalities, all of the contracts. So the educational component of it is absolutely something you need. But what Jamie is referring to is, okay, so now that I have my license, now what do I do? And it's that next step, which is phenomenal, because that will help you to kind of get up off the ground with the tools, the meat and potatoes that you need to be successful. And that's what we're talking about. Absolutely.
100%. 100%. How would you recommend building a business one transaction at a time?
That's the only way you can build a real estate business, is one transaction at a time. It is absolutely the way to do it. I was sharing with Jamie earlier, before we went on camera. I've been in, as she mentioned from my bio, I've been in real estate a really long time. And to this day, I remember my very first transaction with a young couple, sold them their first property. And then it was either 2 or 3 years later, they came back to me because they had had a baby and they needed a bigger place to live. And so I got to sell their property, list their property and get it sold, and help them to purchase another one. This real estate industry is built on one transaction at a time, doing it the best way that you can, and basically keeping in touch. It is a business that builds over time. And I cannot stress to you the importance of doing it one transaction at a time. I had also shared with Jamie a number of years ago in the company that I was in, there was one particular agent who was phenomenal in that every single customer was treated exactly the same way, whether you were a first-time buyer with a small purchase or whether you were a large, very expensive waterfront home. It didn't matter. She treated everyone the same and had more business came back to her than one person could basically handle. So it is a business business that builds over time, and a good done today puts you in good stead down the road. That's just the reality of it.
It is. It really is. It's all about networking and relationship building. And
Yep.
as something Diane brought up earlier, before we got on, was just about building those relationships and nurturing those relationships and making sure that, you are treating every client the same and giving them your undivided attention for that. I think that is huge. And I think that is customer service that we're all expecting and wishing we had when we're going through the process ourselves. That's great. I think that's really good advice. Do you think that the first year is typically the hardest year in the industry?
I think the first year is somewhat difficult because basically you're trying to get your feet on solid ground. And so there's a lot that is new that you have to adapt to. And so it's setting your own schedule, it's working your business plan, it's getting the lay of the land, it's being informed about the types of properties in your area, it's getting out to see the types of properties in your area. You can't speak intelligently about something you haven't seen. You have to be proactive. And when you embrace doing all of these things, I can guarantee you that that's the process that is going to set you head and shoulders above your competition. We all know that unfortunately there is a big dropout rate in real estate, and it's because people don't embrace it. You really have to be committed to it. And by that, I don't mean by any means that you need to be a realtor 24/7, not for a minute, but you have to have your heart in it. And when you present yourself that way, and when you conduct your business that way, there is nothing that is more rewarding. Nothing. That first year is tough. It's a little rocky, but you can do it and you can come out a winner by the end of the year for sure.
Yes, I agree. I think that first year is a lot of learning, a lot of like,
Yeah.
whoa, balls in the air. What am I doing? What did I get myself into? And then after you, like you said, you kind of start to get in that groove of like making your relationships and networking, not only with other clients, but also with other people in the industry. I mean, having people
Yeah,
to refer out to, like, oh, I need a plumber. Okay, who would I call for that? I don't know. And that's a lot to kind of get under your belt that first year. But once you kind of
absolutely.
get the ball moving and talking to other people in your office and going out to other networking events to meet affiliates in the industry, I think that makes things go a little bit smoother as you go.
Absolutely. Jamie, if I could just 1 second, there's a question there that caught my eye about how do we
Yeah.
deal with today's economy? And
Yes, that's
I'm
a
here
great
to tell you,
question.
I was selling real estate in double-digit interest rate climate. And I do mean, 12, 13, 14% interest. The reality is it's tougher, but it's no different than any other time. The process is the same, and you have to keep doing your same process. Yes, it's a little bit tougher to conduct business, but it can be done. You still you have to farm, you have to network, you have to find those individuals that are listing their property for sale or that are looking to purchase. And here's the hint: when we had double-digit interest rates, lenders were giving 40-year mortgages. So they'll work. They find a way around it because they want to stay in business as well.
Right.
Okay?
Yep.
For sure.
Yep. There's always people moving, right? Everyone always needs it to
Absolutely.
go somewhere, whether
Absolutely.
it's for a job or just life changes, but there's always
Absolutely. And you're
business
going
to
to,
be had.
right, you're going to be there to help them.
Yes. Wonderful. Um, can you share any mistakes that you've either observed or had or have seen newcomers commonly make when they are
Um,
first starting out?
Jamie had asked me this question earlier, and I kind of had to stop and think for a second. I think the first mistake I made, I brand new to the business, jumped into a company that gave training. And back when I got my license, folks, it was a long time ago, training was rare. And so I thought, what a great way to do it. I'll dive in and took the training. The training was fine, but the makeup of the office wasn't that great. And ultimately, what came to light was the sales associates on the selling floor were kind of in competition with the manager broker person. And what I mean by that is she was doing business as well, And since she was in the position of power, guess who was winning most of the transactions? And so I stayed in that office for about a year. And then I got to know the lay of the land. I got to know some other realtors in different companies. And I moved my license to a different company and I stayed there for 18 years. So, it's okay to do that. If you make that mistake initially, don't think that it's like terminal, because it's not. You can
Right.
take your license and move it. And once you've been in it, you kind of get to know. You get to know the reputation of other companies, the management style of other people, and you can absolutely set yourself up for success.
Yes,
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
And that kind
And
of
that kind
falls
of
into some of the questions we're getting about, do I have to get the license in the state I live in? And while yes, you probably want to, because you'll eventually do business in the state you live in, you can also have reciprocity and get it in other states. Or if you're planning to, well, I'm in Chicago right now, but I'm going to be moving to Florida, you can get your license in Florida before you get
absolutely
there.
can. Yeah, you don't have to be a resident in order to have a Florida real estate license. So yeah, if you're thinking of moving, absolutely go ahead and get your license. No doubt about it. This way you can hit the floor running when you get here. And are you ever too old to get? No, you're never too old. This is definitely a career that does not have an expiration date.
No, never, never. We're never too old to learn something new.
For sure.
So I'm going to put up the slide I forgot to put up at the beginning.
Well, there you go. That's okay.
This is Diane's email. So if you guys have questions for Diane, you can reach her with her first name dot last name at kaplan.com. And then
Absolutely.
since we are at time, I appreciate everyone's awesome questions. If we didn't get to a question and you guys have more questions, you can continue this conversation out on the Kaplan community. So the Kaplan community is something that we have created. There's a public community that we can share information on, as well as a student community. So if you're a student, we also have just a student facing side. But this community that I'm sharing right here is our public community that you guys can go in and continue this conversation for today. And just a reminder as well that a week from now, anyone that registered for this webinar will be sent a recording of this webinar. So again, I want to thank you guys for all attending. It was so wonderful to hear from you and great questions today. And of course, I want to give Diane a big thank you for taking time out of instructing today to be with us to share her wonderful knowledge. So it was so great to have you guys here. And we hope to see you guys at the next Real Experts webinar. Have a great day.